Arthur, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, morning, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, for those who don't know you, Arthur, give us a little background on yourself and how you came to found Helio.
Okay, the quick version is I was born in Houston, Texas. I went to UT Austin. I studied aerospace engineering. While there, I also got involved in their Longhorn Startup Lab, which is an entrepreneurship class that's taught by Josh Baer, who is the president and founder of a thing called Capital Factory, which is a big accelerator slash incubator in the Austin area. It was kind of like let's say the Y Combinator, but in Austin, right? While doing this startup lab with some of my fellow students, I started Helio, and this was back in 2015. So originally, my company Helio, we were naive and young entrepreneurs, so we just said, "Hey, drones are cool. I bet you we can make some money with drones." So we didn't have much of a business plan, I should say. We had the technical prerequisite skills to build drones and make software, but we didn't really know what to do with them. So we kind of messed around. I mean, we were serious about it, but we were trying things like parcel delivery and uh, research applications and security applications and stuff like that. But eventually, we settled on agriculture, which is what Helio does today. So since about 2017 till today, 8 years, we've been purely focused in the ag market. So we design, manufacture, then sell these rather large multi-rotor drones, which are used to uh, dispense what they call agricultural inputs into crops. So that could be fertilizers, but also pesticides, including herbicides, fungicides. It could be seeds for cover crop seeding. It could be ant bait if you're spreading on a ranch to kill some ants, for example. So basically anything you could imagine spreading in an agricultural setting, we do with our machines.
Why agriculture? Why was that the avenue you decided to go down?
I've always grown up around agriculture. My mom's an accountant, my dad's an insurance broker, so no, they weren't agricultural people. But living here in South Texas, half your friends are ranchers or farmers. So would grow up around it. A lot of my friends are rural, and one of my co-founders, actually, Mike Oda, our CFO, his family owns a ranch. So um, it always spoke to us in terms of the culture, just being where we're from and our friend group, like I mentioned. So we really vibed with the mission, growing food, and the people involved. And frankly, like the practical side of it too is that we saw a really good opportunity to tap into an underdeveloped market. So at the time, drones were being used, or they were making headlines at least for drone delivery, and that's one of the reasons why we went into that because it was hypey and buzzworthy. By virtue of doing some work in Central America, which is actually where we were doing a drone delivery project, we got involved with some agricultural people, some local farmers and co-ops down there, and we really just started to suss out the idea of, hey, with the delivery, you can make $5 and you do maybe a few deliveries an hour. Like you're making $20 an hour, or you can make $20 in a minute by spraying over crops because just the economics of farming is so powerful. Every minute that you're flying, you can spray an acre or two, and per acre you're getting paid 10, $15. So you can see that the math already checked out a lot better in the ag sector. And especially down in Central America, where we first got introduced to the subject, they were doing it in a very traditional way. So a lot of times they were applying these inputs by hand. And so the value proposition was very stark to us when we saw it down in Costa Rica or El Salvador. I was like, oh my gosh, these people are doing it by hand. They're getting exposed to the chemical. They're doing it imprecisely. They're probably overspreading or underspreading. It's slow. It's time consuming, etc. So the drones made a lot of sense as a just paradigm shift for them. But of course, that applies even in America where we do most of our business today. So it's a universal thing. The value prop and the market fit for the drones in the ag sector seems so much more powerful and frankly meaningful, right? As a mission, you're either delivering Starbucks to some spoiled kids in the delivery sector, and yeah, I'm overgeneralizing it. Of course, there's good applications for delivery too, or you could help farmers that make the food that everyone eats every single day. So it was just a stronger reason to get up in the morning too.
If we could dive in on the value prop for farmers. So you talked about, in South America, seeing people do these things by hand. Talk about how they're being done in the US today and the time or cost savings or both that are associated with utilizing these drones.
Really, it's contextual. So are so many different ways to farm, so many different crops, so many different regional situations, right? So I can try to give you like a clear example. So One of the most popular applications for drones right now is fungicide on row crops. So that's where they've seen the majority of their adoption. So row crops being, your large staple grains and stuff. So corn, soybeans, wheat, and this is primarily grown in the Corn Belt. So your I states, your Midwest states in general. So there's a lot of adoption there. It's for fungicides, and it's for a number of reasons. Something that's important with fungicide application, for example, is timeliness. So when you have some sort of that's like a rain event or certain weather conditions, it can be prime conditions for fungus to grow on your corn or your beans. And the most important thing to do is to treat that fungus quickly. Every day that the fungus is growing and spreading, you're losing some percent of your yield. So your bottom line is being affected in a very real and explicit way. Like it's either you kill the fungus or you don't, or else you lose a ton of money. So the problem is when you have a rain event or conditions for fungus, generally that means your field is also wet and muddy, and you can't have tractors get in there without getting stuck. So big, 50-ton tractor or whatever it is that you're rocking, you take it out there, it goes a few feet, stuck in the mud. You're not only do you have to pay money to get that pulled out, but you didn't spray any of your corn. So the drones are obviously aerial vehicles. So immediately the farmer or the operator that has one on hand can go spray that fungicide, even if it's wet out, and they're just getting immediate coverage of the fungus, and they're saving all that yield when they do it. So um, I know this isn't exactly an apples to apples comparison like you might traditionally see like, oh, this is 70% better than this old method, because again it's just so contextual, and I want to paint that nuanced picture where it's a lot of factors. It's like the physical limitlessness of the drones themselves, the ability that they can go on the Z axis, they can fly, so that helps when the terrain is muddy or inaccessible like I just mentioned. But then if you take it to the next level, where you see the real savings is um, the drones can specifically spot spray areas, right? And a tractor can't do that. Now, there is such thing as like John Deere See and Spray tractor. We can get into that later, but a traditional tractor is going to go and spray just row by row. And while it's doing that, assuming it could even get in the field, it's not going to get stuck. It's crushing crop, it's compacting the soil, and all these things have negative effects on the yields. So if you're smart about it, you can use a drone or satellite imagery to identify the stressed parts of your crop, so the parts that would have this fungus or some sort of other issue, and go use your drone to spray just that 10 or 20% of your crop, which is effectively protecting your entire crop, your entire yield. So you can see very stark differences in the amount of money you put into your crops and still see the same results, the same protection. So if you're only spraying 10% of the pesticide that you previously were, you're saving a ton of money, 90% of your pesticide cost, which is not cheap. So that's where you see the real dramatic savings between the
Mm.
drones and the traditional methods is by leveraging that precision agriculture aspect. But admittedly, like that takes some technical know-how. You need to actually go do the work of scouting your crops and understanding where you need to solve problems, and then going and using the drones to solve those issues.
Today's episode of Inside Startup Investing is sponsored by Raise Papers. Raise Papers is the one-stop shop for founders to structure their capital raise deal and file all of their necessary documents to be able to raise in compliance with SEC rules. Yes, it's the nitty-gritty of capital raising, but traditional law firms can charge you an arm and a leg and take forever to get your capital raising documents in place. Raise Papers was built for serving founders with digital tools to streamline time and cost to file. On average, we aim to save founders 50% off of traditional lawyer pricing by templatizing and automating the filing processes. So whether you're raising via crowdfunding or traditionally, reach out to schedule time with the Raise Papers team to learn more about how they can help. You can learn more at raisepapers.com and tell them Inside Startup Investing sent you for special discounts. And now, back to the show. Your sales have been pretty phenomenal. I think in 22 they were a few $1 million. In 23 they were over 8 million. As far as I could see reported wise, in 24, just in the first 2 quarters of last year, I think you were already at 8 million. So you've been making a ton of progress on the sales front. What has been the sales strategy, and how are you winning over farmers to adopt this technology? And are there any challenges in that sales process?
The pitch is usually a few things. So it's access, what I just mentioned, which is if it's muddy and you're losing yield every single day you're not out there, you got this drone. And I should add, I didn't mention it earlier, but a lot of times, so you might say, hey, okay, if you can't get your tractor out there, you could call someone with a helicopter or an airplane. there's a huge supply issue there, right? So insurance rates for these aircraft have skyrocketed. There's a lack of pilots. You can't even get enough pilots for commercial flights, let alone crop dusting flights, right? So even if you wanted to call an airplane or a helicopter to come spray your crop in an emergency situation, they probably couldn't get out there for at least a few days, if not weeks. That's a very common story. So the drones give you access. They give you immediate results. You're out there. Doesn't matter if it's muddy. Doesn't matter if your tractor broke down or is in for servicing or something. You got drones right there to spray immediately. So access is one thing. Cost savings is another pitch. So a new John Deere tractor, not even a fancy one, is going to run you 400 or 500 grand. That's a tough pill to swallow for some farmers, especially now. Times are a bit tough in the industry. Commodity prices have dropped a little bit. Um, Credit's getting harder, rates are getting worse. So it's not exactly like farmers right now are super cash flush. So if you're telling someone to drop $500,000 on a tractor and the payback period might be several years, if not like more than a decade, it's a tough sell. Now, if you turn around and say, hey, you know what, for uh, a third of the price or a quarter of the price, I can get you a fleet of drones. I can get you 3 drones that can do hundreds, if not thousands of acres per day based on what you're doing, trailer setup, recharge station for the batteries and all that, and it's going to come out to like 120,000 versus 500,000. That's a huge cost saving pitch. So that's another aspect of it. And then finally, to circle back to what I said earlier, you can just do smarter things with the drones. So it's savings up front on the initial capital cost, but also savings in just how you use and operate them, and savings on your inputs. So it's an ROI pitch, it's an access pitch, and often, like after we saw with COVID, like you can see our sales, 2022, 2023, 2024 have done really well, hockey stick pattern essentially. But since COVID, we've seen that, yeah, sometimes it's really just, I want something now. And we're able to supply these drones, and a lot of these tractor manufacturers, the traditional big players, since COVID have been reeling and their supply chains are kind of in free fall. And so a lot of times, like you buy a new tractor from one of these big players, it might take you a year or more to even get it. So again, that's like a really hard pill for someone to swallow to say, I'm going to drop 500,000 and wait a year or more to get my tractor to actually start getting value out of it. So the drones are an immediate solutions. The drones Hylio sells, some of our competitors, they've really hit the scene because they're right here. They're ready to go. They work. So we've got on a lot of people just based on that expediency alone.
The manufacturing of these drones, you talked about, supply chain issues with companies like John Deere and stuff, and it taking a lot of time. Do you guys develop, design, and build the drones, or are you just buying the parts from someone else and it's more about the application? And then do you have a software layer as well that helps manage the flying of these vehicles?
Yeah, so the drones are extremely complicated, right? There's more than 400 unique parts on a single drone product. The short answer is we make most of the stuff. We make as much of it as we can in-house. If we don't do it in-house, we do it onshore in the U.S. If we can't do that, we do it near shore. And then finally, there's a small percentage of stuff that we get globally, like batteries and the magnets and electric motors are Asian sourced because Asia is really the only place still in the world that can do that kind of technology at scale. So even like in the EV market, you see like the batteries and the magnets are almost essentially all made in China. So we're working to get away from that, but the, the it's been a process. I should say Helio is 10 years old. And at first, kind of like you alluded to, it was we operated more as like system integrators, which is given our size, you'd spec out what you want for the vehicle, the performance, and go try to find vendors that are selling these individual components. So we would get individual components from different vendors. Some of the stuff we even made from the get-go. But then you'd put the system together, you do your QA, and then yes, to your question, we do have proprietary software. So that's probably one of our most valuable IP assets is the ground control software that we use to interface with the drones, and the software on the drone itself to control it is all 100% proprietary Helio made. So of course made in the US, secured data and everything. So we stuck our software originally onto these integrated systems that we were sourcing from a variety of vendors, the individual components. But as the years have gone on, it's become a necessity actually for us to design and make most of the internal components ourselves because, frankly, we just got to the point where everything that the vendors were offering wasn't cutting it. We're pioneers in a lot of ways because if you could imagine, these drones are being pushed pretty hard. So the farming operators that use them are using them in 100-degree weather. They're running them 12 hours a day, back to back to back. These are very demanding applications physically. So we had, yeah, buying from vendors, you would have some quality issues with some power components and sensors and stuff like that. So basically, as the years went by, we started making our own GPSs, our own radars, our own power boards, our own flight controllers, etc. So it's been this process where it's kind of like the ship of Theseus, where it's like you still want to retain just like the basic qualities of the system, but eventually you're replacing every single part with a new Helio-made in-house part that's more robust, that's more scalable, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of a long explanation, but that's to say that today more than 80% of the stuff on the systems we design and build, and then the rest of the stuff we contract manufacture or just purchase. And I will add that for anyone listening that's privy to this information, there's something called NDAA compliance, right? So I will emphasize that our drones are completely NDAA compliant, meaning that they don't have any critical electronic components that are sourced from a covered entity. So that's like China, Iran, Russia. We don't have any of those components. So our flight controller, our radio, our GPSs, et cetera, are all US or allied sourced, meaning that our drones are safe and legal to use, just even in the face of all these potential bans against these foreign-made drones. So
In terms
yeah,
of your business model, you charge for the drone, and then is there an ongoing, software fee or something like that that's on top of it?
it's a turnkey purchase. So basically, we just believe in the philosophy of keeping it simple in terms of like a product offering. So it's like you buy the drone, you get the software, like the keys to the drone or the software. So it's like you buy a car, you get the keys to the car. We're not going to like put the keys behind a paywall. So with that being said, we are coming out with enterprise features within our software. So we'll always have like the fundamental control abilities and operation abilities of the software are going to be included with the drone with behind no paywall. But there are things that are like on a per acre basis. Like we're coming out with analysis tools so you can go scout and say, this is a certain weed or this is stressed or here's your population count. And that might be charged per acre because it involves, ongoing compute that we have to upkeep. So kind of a la carte additional value add things are going to be charged under a SaaS model in the future, but right now there's nothing of that sort.
As you think about growth, I know it looks like you're maybe partnering or selling into some of the larger ag companies that are out there. Can you talk to us about, how you continue to grow this business and what those main avenues are?
Yeah, so Helio is traditionally sold direct to the customer, but also to a handful of distributors. We've been growing our distributor network over the past few years, so we've got brick and mortar shops, partners in primarily in the Midwest, where most of our customers are. And not only do they carry our products, our inventory, but they also are certified to maintain and repair them. So it's a very important thing for Helio, especially like in the farming industry. Word gets around. It's a small industry in that sense, and if you're a company that builds a reputation of truly caring for the customer and making an effort to service their equipment when it's down, that goes a long way. So that's been a big North Star for us to follow is like, even if something goes wrong in the field, I mean, this is newer technology, so of course you're gonna have like some bugs and some glitches. As long as you're there to talk to the farmer and service them, you're still doing right by them. So that's a big reason why we grew this distribution channel the way we did, where we emphasize the servicing, the physical servicing aspect. Now, going to the future, we're going to grow the distribution channel. I think naturally, as you might imagine, the a priority is for sure to work with some of these larger channel distributors. So I mean, I'm not going to name the names, but like the names I'm talking about, all the big tractor companies and stuff. So talking with these people, trying to work out agreements with them that makes sense. Win-win-wins for us, them, and the customer. So they're leveraging their capital and their network to bulk purchase drones essentially from Helio, and maybe we do some integrations with their IoT programs and whatnot. Ultimately, we're just adding drones to a fleet of existing products that these people offer to their current farmer base.
What are the challenge it like the user challenge it like does it take a lot to get someone trained up on how to utilize your devices, or is it fairly simple to fly these devices and be able to, get them to go where they need to go to get the crops all covered?
It's fairly easy. I always use this as an example, but we sold. I remember one time, maybe a year or two ago, there's a farmer, and I won't name him out of respect for his privacy, but he was a farmer in his 60s, and he had never even owned a laptop computer. So we sold him his drone, and at the time we didn't have a controller to go with it that we had made. That was actually we make a controller that's like a built-in computer and with joysticks on it. But long story short, back then we had to ship him with laptops. So he got his first laptop and his first drone, and we had to teach him how to use File Explorer and like Chrome and stuff because he had never used that. But this same farmer who's, right, objectively like pretty inept with technology, had never used it, was flying the drone on the same day and utilizing it safely and relatively effectively. So it's a really quick turnaround. We've designed a huge part of the design philosophy for the software was just like ease of use. And like it was always, we're not designing this for engineers or pilots. This is designed for farmers, for farm hands, for ranch hands. A lot of times these are people that are 17 years old or like, yeah, the farmer's nephew. And this is a high school kid. And you can't expect these people to be super professional. So you make the software really intuitive, very vision based. Like a lot of the interface is just very visual and put a lot of, let's say, guardrails on it. So even if you do something that you shouldn't, nothing catastrophic will happen, right? It'll either warn you to go like redo like your planning, or it'll stop you and say, hey, this is happening, return to base. So we put up the guardrails and made it very intuitive. It's usually within a day, any given customer is flying this thing. Now, it takes a few weeks to actually learn. Uh, it's like any good video game, let's say, or like any good hobby. It's easy to learn, difficult to master. So you get into it really easily, but it takes, let's say weeks or months of experience to actually be very efficient with your operations. You'll learn like, oh, I should set up this path in this certain way so that I, save time flying out to this field and then that field, and then you're timing your operations and understanding like the big picture, and that's when you can really optimize your efficiency over like a given week or a month of operation.
You've done an incredible job running the business. You've grown it. You've found your market. You clearly have product market fit, and you're able to grow within it. So congrats and kudos to everything that you've done. For those though who are on the line, they're thinking about investing, they're not there yet. I want to give you the last word. What would you want them to know?
That's a fun question. Let's say just brass tacks. This is the cheapest it's going to be in terms of an industry. So I want everyone that's listening to know that we are at the very beginning of this wave, and believe me, like the wave is coming. It's a tsunami. It's going to crash. So but drones have been in the news a lot. You got the New Jersey stuff. You got the China stuff. This, that, whatever. These are drones for good. Hylio is making drones to feed people, not to hurt people. So that feels good to us as founders. Our vision is to help the world. And so I think if you're interested in drones, but have been, let's say, kind of put off by the dystopian view of them, just know that there are drones that are doing good things, and Helio represents that. So if you want to put your money into a really fast growing technology and get in on the ground floor, I know that's a cliche, but it's truly what's happening. We're the people to do it with.